Hey guys, welcome to Rationality, Reason, Reality. I'm Supernova, and today is the first part of my four-part series on God's justice. If I were to give it a title, it would be God Doesn't Understand How Punishment Works. And for the first part of this, we're going to examine the book of Job. Now, if you're familiar with the story of Job, you're saying there's no punishment in that story. That doesn't make sense. But I'll get there. If you're not familiar with the story of Job, let me recap and catch you up. There's a man named Job in the time of the judges who's the most righteous man on earth, and he's fabulously wealthy. And Satan appears before God in heaven and says, and God is bragging about how righteous Job is, and Satan says, "Yeah, well, he wouldn't be if he weren't so rich." I mean, this totally makes sense. You scratched his back, he's scratching yours. He's just being nice to you because you were nice to him first. And God's like, "No, he'd still praise my name if I took away all this stuff." And Satan said, "May I? Let's prove it." And for some reason, to prove a point to Satan, whose nature we don't expect ever to change, and God should know that, says, "Yeah, go ahead. Just so long as you don't hurt Job himself, you can do whatever you want." And he does. He destroys all of Job's livestock, kills like all of his servants and his children. So Job loses like everything, including children. I don't know how to make this any clearer how awful this is. A lot of us atheists attack Christians for worshiping a God that they know ordered Abraham to murder his son and allowed Jephthah's daughter to be the first one to greet him at the door so that he sacrificed her. I mean, we don't see God as being very moral. And this story, especially more than those other ones, proves this. It may not have been God who pulled the trigger. He didn't actually murder Job's children, but he allowed it to happen. He must have known it would happen. And he said, "Yeah, go ahead." It's like if any of us let a murderer into our house and said, "I'm not going to kill my family, but you're welcome to kill them." That's not what a paragon of moral virtue would do. It's not what any rational, sane person would do. That's so unbelievably evil. But it's what God does in this chapter. So anyway, Job loses all of his stuff, and he still praises God. And in the last verse of Job 1, verse 22, he actually doesn't blame God, even though he should, because it was God's fault. So in the second chapter, Satan says, yeah, he's still worshiping you because you didn't let me hurt him. And God says, "Well, okay, just as long as you don't kill him." So he gives Job sores from head to toe, and Job goes out and sits on ash pile and grieves, and his friends join him, and eventually his wife joins him, and they more or less pick on him for his still praising God, because they all believe that it was God that did this, and they're like, "He's punishing you." Now, of course, in the beginning of the book of Job, we're told that Job, because he's so fabulously wealthy and because he's so righteous, sacrifices a lamb each and every day to cover the sins of everybody in his household. He kills one lamb for each person in his household. So he's thinking, well, I'm blameless. I mean, it's got to be just some bet that God made with Satan, and if I wait it out, it'll all turn out well. And I guess he read the script, because in the very last chapter of Job, that is exactly what happens. He gets double all of his stuff back from everybody in the community chipping in and giving him money, and he does get kids again, and he lives to see his fourth generation. So it's a totally happy ending if you ignore all the people who had to die for that ending to happen. But nonetheless, it doesn't make any sense for him not to think it's punishment. We're told in the Bible that it rains on the just and the unjust alike. But that's not how any of us would run things if we were in charge. If I could make sure that my loved ones never hurt again and never had to endure anything bad, I'd make exactly that happen. You would too. Any rational person would, because why would we allow bad things to happen to them? Especially since when we purposely allow bad things to happen to them in the form of punishments, we want to make sure that they understand that they're being punished. And we can do that by them knowing our nature and saying, well, my dad wouldn't spank me if I wasn't doing anything bad, so I must have done something bad to learn from this. If you indiscriminately hurt people when you're punishing them and when you're not, they won't get the message. They won't understand when they're being punished. And I'll have more on this whole idea of bad timing and ambiguous punishments in the next video, but that's all I have to say in this one. Feel free to comment below, and I hope you'll catch me in my next video. You definitely will if you subscribe. Button's right there. And till next time, peace out.